The champ is here. Bellator welterweight champion Rory MacDonald ahead of a must-see rematch Saturday night. Bellator 232, finals of the welterweight Grand Prix, which has been one heck of a tournament, but a rematch of one of 2018's most exciting fights, a hellacious war. Second time around. What's your mindset coming in?
I'm really confident. I felt like I have a great game plan, a great camp going into this fight. So I'm going to take what I did in the gym and just apply it in the fight. And I think it's going to be a very dominant fight.
It's interesting paths that both of you have taken to this tournament final. When this tournament gets announced, we're fired up. We literally don't know. Is Rory going to be able to walk through here and hold on to the title? Who's going to make this run? Who's going to sort of jump off the paper? Douglas Lima rolls through a couple guys, makes some big noise. You had more of a circular route to get there. How confident are you, having gone through a draw against John Fitch, maybe not coming in there with knockout like Lima has been, that you're going to be able to mentally regroup and be that same guy?
They may have been decisions, my fights, but I did get a draw. But the way I viewed the fight, it was very dominant, and it was very healthy. I didn't receive any damage besides hurting myself on them, elbowing them in the head or whatever it may be. So I felt like both my fights were very dominant, and I'm super confident going into this fight, even though he's been doing great, and props to him. It's leading up to a great rematch.
Fired up. I cannot wait to see how this plays out and what's it look like. In that John Fitch fight, were you in agreement with, or could you understand where the judges are coming from scoring that a draw?
No, not really at all. I know that was his hometown and everything. He spent some time on top of me with his wrestling control, but and you know what, going back, I wish I had fought harder in those positions. I was in my own head in those moments, but besides him having those controlling moments, I was all over him in every spot of the fight. So obviously I don't agree with it, but that's what happens when it goes to decision. It doesn't always go the way you think.
Based on your post-fight interview and that, there was a lot of talk. Will Rory be the same guy? You go in there in the semifinals against Neiman Gracie. He's undefeated. You score a technical, strong win. Was there a part of you that needed to go out there and be that dominant to remind yourself who the Red King is?
I was very confident going into that fight. Obviously, I had a confusing interview after the John Fitch fight. People didn't know if my heart was still in it, but the Lord gave me clarity moving forward. So I was able to have peace of mind and just go in there and compete as I always do with peace and joy in my heart.
How different is your mindset before getting deep in your faith and sort of the stuff you talked about in the Fitch fight, and maybe who you were as a younger fighter in your UFC days in terms of the way you look at a fight and approach it mentally?
Yeah, definitely my journey as a martial artist and a professional fighter have changed. Even before I became a Christian, it was I was growing from like a 16-year-old, into when I was all the way up to when I fought for the world title. I think it was 25 or 6. So, those are years that, you change and grow. So my outlooks changed and grew when new people were coming into my life and influences. So, I've been going through, growing up as a man, as a kid, experiencing that, being on a platform, professional fighter. But definitely, the Lord has changed my life since giving my heart to him. And it's been in the public eye, and I really feel like maybe that interview in the moment I regretted it because people got to see, but I don't now, because I know that the Lord, he's showing me what's next, and being able to have that in the spotlight for people to see, and when the story comes full circle, it's going to be all the better. So I'm pretty stoked on that.
You were incredibly real at such a vulnerable moment after a fight, and after a fight that didn't necessarily go the way you expected or hoped or thought you had performed in what we talked about it being a draw, and you were so naked, so real, and I can understand what you're saying where initially you maybe regretted it. Did you get people reaching out to you saying that was awesome to hear you put it out like that?
Yeah, a lot of people really found it inspiring, or they wanted to reach out to, support me, and, fellow Christians that are fighters wanted to, give me a word of advice, things like that. But, I don't regret it at all. Obviously, I've had to answer a lot of questions on it, but it's gonna be for all the good. When it comes full circle, I go out there and I have a dominant victory, and however the rest of my life, works out. It's gonna be all for the better.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Now, what is the difference, though, if any, between the two of you from that first fight in January 2018? You win a close decision. Fight's up for grabs. You go out there in that 5th round and you control him on the ground. I mentioned Douglas Lima's kind of hot right now. That's certainly a thing. Do you think either of you has changed that much, though, in less than 2 years here?
We've definitely changed. I feel like Douglas is motivated. He's worked hard. He's, you could tell he's hungry to get to be a champion and to beat me. But I've also changed. I feel like I'm a quick learner, and I could apply a lot of different fighting styles, so I could change on the fly, and I think I'm gonna go out there and surprise a lot of people.
That first fight, man, you had a left leg from hell here in terms of the abscess that's growing on there from the leg kicks, but you got to give you nothing but credit for not only gutting it out, but you were able to consistently close distance and keep that fight off of the feet, keep that from becoming a problem. You even surprise yourself at all at your ability to dig deep in those moments? It's not like we didn't know you could. It's not like we didn't see you in the kind of wars in the past in the UFC, but to be able to really steady your mind and stick with that game plan when things are going haywire.
I think it came down to experience, because I've been in those battles before where you really have to make a decision when the anxiety of the moment is there, when your body or your mind is telling you to quit. The easy way out is right there. But I was hungry, and I didn't want to feel that disappointment of knowing maybe I could have done a little extra, where I've experienced that in the past, and I've learned from it, and it felt good to know that I did learn from those upsets, those disappointments, and applied it in a hard situation.
Can you give us a sort of layman's terms explanation of what the heck that felt like, especially when he dropped you with the leg kick? I mean, how compared to other things you've endured inside the cage, what was that like?
It was intense. I mean, obviously I had a lot of anxiety, so you kind of freak out inside, because you have a lot of eyes on you. It's a huge moment. It's a world title, big opportunity, and something I trained really hard for and was determined to get. It was a big moment in my life for me and my family. So, experiencing like that kind of damage in fights before, I didn't want that same feeling to happen again. I didn't want to be disappointed again. I didn't want people to be disappointed. So that was a motivating factor. And also just, asking the Lord to give me the strength to get through it really helped me as well.
You mentioned disappointing, and I can understand as a competitor. We can use the second Robbie Lawler fight as an example with the UFC. A fight of the year, a fight of our lifetime type of fight. I'm sure as a competitor, you're upset that you lost that, but given the love people have for that fight, are you able to distance yourself to a certain point and say, I'm just happy to have been a part of a war like that?
Somewhat, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's that fight is kind of like a landmark of what people, when they think of me, they immediately go back to that fight, which is cool. Obviously I came out, losing, but they still have that respect. It's not like they remember me for getting squashed and being a baby. Like it was a battle. We both showed a lot of heart, and it was a real fight. So having that respect attached to it is nice.
Did you feel like you had anything to prove that night, looking back, in terms of your toughness?
I was just hungry to win. I mean, going into that fight in my career before that, my life was fighting. I had nothing else. So it was, everything was for that moment to be world champion. So there was a lot riding on it for me personally at the time.
So a lot riding on Bellator signing you and the time you came over in your absolute prime from UFC. People are going to argue that you were the most important free agent that the company's acquired. For you personally, how has the journey been? Because there's certain business and personal advantages in switching companies at this level. What's the Bellator journey been like for you?
It's been good, really positive. Don't regret the decision at all. It's been awesome. The last few years with Bellator has been great. My life's been going wonderful, and I'm super thankful for my experiences.
I love your interviews. Love talking to you because it's like when you look out at a mountain overlooking the water, and you're like, okay, that's about 2,000 feet in the air, and then the people tell you, well, underneath it's about another 4,000 feet going down. I feel like on the inside there's just so much well thought out passion and knowledge inside of you. That sometimes you share with the world.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself a deep guy? Are you very well read? Are you sort of a book nerd, if you will, outside of the cage?
Not at all. I don't know. I'm quiet, I guess, unless you get to know me. Then I'm a little more outspoken. But no, I wouldn't call myself a philosopher or anything like that.
Do you have hobbies that will allow you to press pause on the fight life? Are you a painter? Are you anything like that, or are you basically living this 24/7 outside of your family?
Yeah, my family's obviously, a huge part of my life, but, since being a new Christian, just reading and studying the Bible is a big passion of mine outside of fighting, and applying it and getting to reap the benefits of it. That's a big one for me.
Your journey to get back to this, to get to this Bellator final and to get into this championship rematch with Douglas Lima, it's been wild. We mentioned not just the John Fitch draw and everything that came in the aftermath of the post-fight interview, but the title loss moving up to middleweight against Gegard Mousasi. I mean, look, it's a dare to be great moment. We love that as fans. Didn't go the way you planned. Are you able to carve out positives that you took from that and learned?
Yeah, just pretty much I just didn't go in that fight ready in any way. It was a big opportunity, and I just didn't. It wasn't the right time. I should have pulled back. I should have pumped the brakes on saying yes to that fight at that point in time. It just wasn't the right time and place for it. But that's the exciting part of being a Bellator fighter. They gave me a really cool opportunity that I'm thankful to be a part of.
Does the competitor inside of you, do you still eat away at that L? Do you still, wake up at night saying, if I just did this instead?
Not really. I learned what not to do, going into that fight, and I'm just happy that I don't continue to make those mistakes.
How much do you think about legacy? And you're still in the midst of your prime right now. Some guys, just a business, we're just cashing checks. Some guys, they just love it. Love getting in there, love exchanging. Other people are looking at it, no, I'm trying to get in the books. I'm trying to get remembered for a certain thing, for certain accomplishments along the way. Where's your mindset in terms of this job and this passion?
It's definitely changed over the years with my outlook on fighting. As a teenager, I wanted to be the undefeated, greatest of all time, multi-weight champion, this and that. But, it's obviously changed over the years. Now, this is, it's a job of mine. It's a passion. I'm passionate about martial arts. Am I in it to leave a legacy of a great fighter? Not so much. I mean, I want to express myself and people to love my fighting. It's really important. But I think now being a born-again Christian and having a calling from the Lord, I want people to experience the goodness of God. And if people can come back to me and be like, what you said or your story really inspired me to press in, and I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I've experienced miracles in my life from Him. That would really give me a lot of happiness.
People that have conversions in their life, a lot of times spiritual, can come from a negative place into a positive place. Was there something that fueled the change in your life to adopt the Christian faith?
No, I was in a dark place. It didn't fuel me to be like, okay, I need Jesus. It was the grace of God that came to me and threw me a lifeline. I literally didn't want anything to do with it. There was an interest there, but it's all thanks to God that that He changed my life and my circumstances, and transformed me from my heart to my mind and my circumstances now in life.
It's very inspiring. When you look at this rematch, and we are. It's all we can talk about in the MMA game in terms of what this fight will look like. the big theme the first time around was what the leg kicks did to you. How much has that been a part of your game plan and your strategy and your plan of attack to avoid that the second time around?
Yeah, it's a big one. Don't want to walk that road again. So I feel like what we've done in the lead up to this, we will address it and be able to go and dominate without having to worry about that.
What would this win at this point mean to your career?
I would say it's the biggest fight of my career. A lot of eyes on this one, rooting, expecting me to lose this fight. So I'm excited to go out there and just, maybe shock people and be like, okay, well, maybe we were wrong. So.
Is this a little bit of Roy Jones you almost have forgot type deal?
Sorry?
Is this a little bit of,
yeah,
still the champ, haven't lost the belt, don't forget about me type of deal?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can't really think back of what his situation was, but obviously, I'm the underdog going into this, and yeah, I still feel like I have a lot to show, and I'm about to go do it.
Have you been? I don't think you've been in this spot, the underdog champion.
Most of my career, my young career, every fight was underdog, and I actually enjoyed it because, I was a teenager, I was fighting older guys, a small town kid, not training with big names or anything. So I got used to that, and being back here full circle, it's something it was like my foundation of like going into fights. I'm used to that, and I always used it as a positive thing. It's never something that I was like, I'm gonna pout about this, or I'm gonna be sad that no one thinks I'm good, this and that. I'm not gonna take negative. In fact, it's more fuel for the fire to go out there and prove everyone wrong.
You've had a consistent theme in your career, not just a very skilled fighter who can essentially do it all, but man, you got dog in you, and then you certainly need it at this level. But you've had to show that at times, and you've passed a lot of those tests. Where do you think that comes from? How is that able to separate you from other guys aspiring to be in your spot?
Well, it's definitely grown over the time, but I think that it's something that was inside of me. I always had that in me, whatever I did. But it's been developed, through hard situations in life and learning from disappointments on how to knock down those walls when they come at me again. Because in every situation of life, whether it's fighting, your career, a personal situation, you got to be able to knock down those walls that life throws at you.
You were tied with GSP for a while in the same gym. People always looked at you as next big thing coming out of Montreal. There, do you still keep in touch with George these days?
Yeah, George is at the gym always, so we talk often.
What's the biggest thing you can point to in terms of effect that he's had on your career?
Well, he really helped me a lot when I first moved to Montreal. Actually, even before, he'd bring me out, and he gave me a lot of coaching almost. Like, he'd bring me around to all his training sessions, train with me like one-on-one. Like, we were really close in that matter. We were always training together for at least gotta be a couple years. So I got to spend a lot of time with George and to see how he does things, and take what works in his schedule and apply it to my life.
You're building your own path, your own legacy right now, and it's a big one. You said the biggest of your career. Saturday night, Bellator 232, the rematch, Douglas Lima. Final question, what's got to go right for Rory to get his hand raised the second time around?
I think whatever I've been doing in the gym, I just got to bring that same guy out there that's been in the gym, and I think I'm getting my hand raised.
You're gonna take his health. You're gonna hold that title. That's a great promo. But you don't get a lot of promos from Rory. No.
I wish health and happiness to him, but he's not gonna come out the victor on Saturday night.
You heard it right here. Can't wait to check that out. Mohegan Sun Saturday night, 2:32 on DAZN. It's the champ, Rory MacDonald. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.